It doesn't take long to become addicted to opioids. In fact, 10 Pennsylvanians die from them every day. Geisinger is committed to ending opioid addiction with both prevention and treatment. In the last 3 years, we've reduced the amount of opioids we prescribe by 50%, and we've opened 4 outpatient addiction treatment centers across the state to help patients recover from addiction. Learn more at geisinger.org/recovery.
Additional support provided by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and viewers like you. Thank you. Coming up on the next Battling Opioids, Pennsylvania PBS presents our 8th collaborative program in which we'll revisit stories of hope and recovery that were featured in this series. For some, it's been a very long road. We'll revisit some of the people that were featured on the series over the past 3 years. Plus, we'll find out how the pandemic has changed treatment for those dealing with substance use disorders.
Hello, I'm Paula Giangiacomo, and welcome to Battling Opioids. In 2019, nearly 50,000 people in the United States died from opioid-involved overdoses. The misuse and addiction to opioids, including prescription pain relievers, heroin, and synthetic opioids such as fentanyl, is a serious national crisis that affects public health as well as social and economic welfare. Satina and Troy Hendel from Strabane, Washington County, have been among the go-to foster parents when children are left stranded because of the opioids crisis. Now, let's hear their story.
There's never a dull moment, and it starts from the time that the kids walk in from school with the homework,
95.
I like
and dinner, and cleaning up.
Yeah, it gets a little noisy.
I don't have homework.
I'm Satina Hendel, and I'm a foster mom.
And I'm Troy Hendel, and I'm a foster dad. We've been foster parents for a little over 2 years, and we've taken in 7 children. In every case with the parents, there's been drug abuse.
The opioid crisis has had a profound impact on the foster care system. Sometimes parents are being arrested. Sometimes we receive referrals that they have overdosed, and the trauma to children is pretty profound. Our first attempt is to place children with extended family, but oftentimes we're finding those extended family members are using drugs themselves, so we have to find foster parents to care for the children.
A little over a year ago, we received a phone call about identical twins that needed a home. And wow, identical twins.
There was drug abuse with the parents. There was times when the parents were in jail. The girls have been in the system since they were 3 years old.
You hear stories of kids that just stay in the system and they don't get a home. We all have a picture painted in our mind of a child that's been in the system. You're expecting someone who's very shy, someone who has a lot of fear coming into a new home. But these two here, they were excited. It was a new beginning for them, it seemed.
You can help me do salad? Our daughter Kaylee, she's 17. She's like my right arm. She does a lot. She has a great bond with them. They're sisters. It's not always easy. They have fears, they have rejection. I tell them, we're not trying to replace your parents. We just want to be a parent to you. We just want to love you, and we just want to care for you.
When we first got the girls, less than a week had went by, and they said to us, you know, in our next hearing, they're going to talk about us being put up for adoption. You know, you could adopt us. And when you hear someone who is 12 say that, it's like they're tired. They've had enough. They've had enough. I love you, baby.
We've had the twins a little over a year, and we adopted last week.
If we can change a few lives and stop the cycle, then we've done something.
Children deserve to have a forever family.
Wanna try? Can you
Just a little bit on it. So despite all the noise and the chaos, we're a family. We're a family. I'll get the drinks. We're gonna have salad first.
Since our story aired, the couple, Troy and Satina Hendel, have now adopted another little girl whose birth father died of an opioid overdose and whose birth mother is struggling with substance use. It's been several years since our viewers met the twins. So tell us, how are they doing today?
They're doing wonderful. Our twins are just about to have their 16th birthday, and they are in high school now. They're in 9th grade. And they're doing really well.
And they've adjusted well to the family and to their new life.
They have. Everyone just fits in as a family here. Of course, we're called mom and dad, and there's it's just a good experience. It's a good thing to do.
Well, your story is so heartwarming. How has the opioid crisis specifically impacted your twins in terms of their trust, socialization, and other ways most families don't necessarily have to deal with?
I think that the opioids that the parents have taken affects so much of their life. So the twins, they've done without. Decisions that were made were bad decisions for them. And we see that here in the home. Whether it was trust issues in the beginning, one of our twins had an abandonment type issue where she always thought that she was going to be left alone. So it really affected them in the beginning, and we had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And then over the years, they've adjusted so well. It's so natural and normal for them to be here. They know that they're going to be taken care of now. They know that they're going to be loved, and nobody's going to abandon them, and nobody's going to mistreat them.
So they feel secure. That's nice to hear. Well, we've heard that you've adopted again. Congratulations. And can you tell us more about that? How did this child come into your lives?
Well, we, as foster parents, of course, we take placements. And the last time that we did the interview, we did have our daughter Ashlyn in our home, but she was not adopted yet. So her face was not able to be seen. She came when she was 5, and she is now 8 years old. She started kindergarten here with us, and she's now in 2nd grade. She's a very bright child. When she first came, there was a lot of struggles. She had experienced quite a bit of trauma, and she did lose her father when she was 3 to an overdose. But she's really adjusted to our family. She loves having the twins and our youngest son, Bryce. So we have 4 children in the home right now, and our daughter, who's 20, started college in the fall. So it's a full boat. But she's doing wonderful. She's in private school now because she is so bright. When she came, she really didn't know the difference between like colors, shapes, numbers, letters. And now she's on high honors and making straight A's. So she's very bright.
Well, you two obviously have huge hearts, and we thank you for sharing your story, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank
it was
you.
An honor to be able to do this.
Good luck to you both and to your entire family.
Thank you.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
In 2020, we interviewed counselor Brian Sabo. Brian is currently working for a new recovery center called the Hope Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Brian says factors like depression and isolation brought on by the pandemic have added to the burden of people in recovery.
For people in recovery from addiction, help during the coronavirus crisis is just a click away.
The recovery community is not taking a day off.
Northampton County Drug and Alcohol has organized virtual sobriety meetings through both of its recovery centers, Change on 3rd Street in Easton and Change on Main in Northampton. Brian Sabo is the program director of both centers.
What is Change on Main and Northampton County doing right now to help people access all of your resources?
Okay, so as of now, we're acting as a hub. We're taking telephone calls and working through social media. So we've been connecting online meetings, virtual meetings on the Zoom app.
He says in the past, both locations have offered over a dozen in-person sobriety meetings each week. Now they're hosting an average of 50 virtual meetings per week.
Typically throughout the week here at Change on Main, I have anywhere between 250 and 300 people come through our doors. Between meetings and social events we have, it's literally in the Lehigh Valley, thousands of people are just getting together through these Zoom meetings as we speak now.
Rhonda Miller is a certified family recovery specialist who manages Oasis Community Center in Bethlehem, which provides support and resources to the family and friends of people struggling with addiction. She says it's critical for people in recovery to stay connected while following stay-at-home orders.
Somebody could be going through recovery right now and they could be just in their apartment by themselves, and that's not really ideal.
It's very unfortunate. It's dangerous, but I would just encourage these people to avail themselves to the many, many resources that are out there. There's a lot of anxiety, and families feel that anxiety when their loved ones are struggling. There's concerns. Their loved ones are no longer able to connect with their personal support groups face to face.
Sabo says too much stress and anxiety can contribute to a relapse.
I've been sober for just about 8.5 years. And this added stress, I learned how to cope with stress, but this is a type of stress that's beyond anybody's imagination. And what I've been doing personally is making more phone calls than I do normally throughout the day and night.
Do you foresee people relapsing due to the added stress?
Boy, that's a tough question. I mean, I would like to think not, but certainly it's possibilities through phone calls and social media that they can stay in contact with people when they're struggling and get through that couple of minutes it takes to relieve that thought.
Miller says the entire recovery community has an all-hands-on-deck mentality right now.
Addiction is a very strong disease. We've turned to technology, as everybody has. I have daily Zoom meetings every day so that I can offer ongoing support and continue to build the community that we've built.
And people like yourself, as far as you know, nobody's taking a day off. Everyone's like, we've got to work even harder now.
Yeah, our work schedule has expanded.
You can find a full list of virtual recovery meeting options on pbs39.org. Reporting in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I'm Megan Frank, PBS 39 News Tonight.
In 2020, we interviewed counselor Brian Sabo. Brian is currently working for a new recovery center called the Hope Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Brian, early in the pandemic, it seemed like people in your line of work would be able to manage this, but no one could have anticipated it lasting more than a year. What's that been like?
You're absolutely right. The worst phone call I was receiving during these trying times were people trying to get into treatment or coming out of treatments. And, we had no place to go because of the shutdown. And it put a real strain on the recovery community on how to help individuals looking to get treatment and to work on their sobriety. So during the past year, there's been hundreds and hundreds of Zoom meetings that, I was involved with, along with others, setting up between the different fellowships that, worked. But, people, we need that in-person connection, because the worst thing we can do is isolate. So it's been very trying, but we adapted and we overcome during this past year. And as things are starting to slow to open up now, this recovery center that I run now, the Hope Center, really took off. We opened up the day before Thanksgiving. We got a permanent location here at 429 East Broad Street. And, Northampton County Drug and Alcohol and our county executive, Lamont Thor, are fully behind us. And we have 19 recovery-based meetings here weekly. We average probably about 275 individuals in recovery a week that attend our meetings here. So, we've adapted and overcame, but it's still a struggle.
So are you doing in-person meetings right now?
We have been for the last few months. CDC guidelines, 6 foot apart, mask, hand sanitizer, temperature checks as soon as you come in the building. But we need that in-person connection. We've had, and like you mentioned, we've had in-person meetings here since Thanksgiving. So
since the start of the pandemic, has the number of people seeking help in recovery grown?
Absolutely, it has. Absolutely has. Like in this building, we have case managers, we have CRSs that are funded by Northampton County, and I'll put it this way: the team that was assembled here between Treatment Trends Inc. and Northampton County Drug and Alcohol, Beth Miller in particular, we can have somebody assessed and in treatment the same day for free. And we have multiple assessments here on a daily basis, people getting into treatment, and then aftercare on top of that.
Thank you for joining us to share your story, and I wish you luck. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, and God bless. Thank you.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
Shannon Peak has been struggling with a substance use disorder for many years and continues his recovery. Shannon has worked in the social services field for the past 12 years and recently became a recovery specialist for Clean Slate in Scranton, Lackawanna County.
My background with the addiction, it started at the normal age of 12, 13 years old. When I was in treatment, interesting thing, I always thought marijuana was sort of a gateway drug. It sort of got me into other things. That water tank up on top of Pringle Hill there, did a lot of drinking up there. I started smoking, chewing tobacco to fit in, to be part of the cool crowd or whatever. And everything that came after it, the alcohol, the marijuana, then the harder stuff, hallucinogenics, opiates, other narcotics, cocaine, crack cocaine, everything was brought into succession while they're doing it. And everything that comes with it, arrests, overdoses, bankruptcies, treatment facilities, detoxes, psych hospitals. And fortunately, I didn't die. And a lot of people I knew back in the late 90s, early 2000s, including a woman I was engaged to, passed away. And it's back then it wasn't really a lesson learned. These people, they didn't, the person that I was engaged to passed away 5 years after I had come into recovery. So that hit hard, even though we didn't speak in about 4 years. I remember getting messages about a month before she had passed away. We were in a disagreement about something, and we were talking about being grateful for the things that are still in our life today and how that's huge for people in recovery. And I still look at the message. I am grateful. I am not going to die, at least not from drugs and alcohol. Granted, her death might not have been a direct result. The denial that comes with addiction that you don't even see a problem. I heard it best said at a mutual aid group that you don't know you're in a fog till you step out of it. My present situation, I am currently working as a certified recovery specialist at the Clean Slate Centers in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Basically what a certified recovery specialist is you are that example that I talked about. You're the ambassador for the recovery community. What I hope to do and what a certified recovery specialist hopes to do is to take that person that comes looking for help and get them acclimated and assimilated into the recovery community. The things that I've been through, the overdoses, the arrests, financial, emotional insecurities, the list of things that this disease causes, the disease of addiction and alcoholism, everything it has done to me uniquely qualifies me to help someone who's in that same position, to get through it. Not to just sit in it and, to take some sort of accountability for their actions, for their lives, and to want something better. Don't be afraid to reach out and be honest. It's gonna be the scariest thing you've ever done, but the most rewarding.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for being with us. Can you give us an update on your recovery?
This last year has, it's created a lot more challenges and barriers.
And you have a new position. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I had just started this position. I was just hired on during our last interview. I believe that was in the end of February of last year, and it has been fantastic. Not just the people I am working for, but the people I am working with. What that is, I guess, in a nutshell, is you're providing services and resources to those suffering from substance use disorder. It's like a case management for drug and alcohol. We try to get these people to the necessary resources, whether it's a primary care physician, a job, mutual aid groups and meetings. Lackawanna County, we have the Recovery Bank, which is a fantastic resource. Sort of that line of assistance for them.
Since you suffered from substance use disorder, do you find it easier to be able to relate to others who are going through recovery because you went through it?
Absolutely. And especially this last year with the whole isolation piece of this pandemic, that isolation could become, it's probably the most detrimental thing to someone's recovery, and it could feel like the most comfortable thing. And I can relate with that in every way.
Well, thank you, Shannon. Congratulations on your new position, and we wish you well in your endeavors at Clean Slate. So thank you again for joining us.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
Dan Albert from Harrisburg, Dauphin County, is proof that treatment works and recovery is possible for those battling with substance use disorders. Let's look back to 2019 with Dan and how he rediscovered fatherhood after entering treatment.
Danny was the life of the party, just kind of a great person to be around. His addiction really, I think, took off, and I think the stress of knowing a child was coming is kind of what led to the downward spiral.
I put a lot of burden on her shoulders while she was pregnant. I really wasn't there emotionally. I really wasn't there to connect.
That's hard for me to talk about it. It's supposed to be a happy time in your life, and it wasn't.
She had an emergency C-section, and I had to put on scrubs. And in my pocket, I had 3 Oxy 80 pills. Normally, I would just take one, but I didn't want anyone to see what was in my pants pocket, so I took all 3 before I went into delivery. When my daughter was handed to me, I could barely hold her. I ruined that moment.
I wanted him to get things together. I mean, I wanted the perfect little household. He would always tell me that he was trying to get sober.
Maybe I could go to the doctor, get that product. What was it called? Suboxone. Take the Suboxone up until, like, right before my vacation. Then I could stop the Suboxone, quit cold turkey, because I have the whole vacation. You know what I mean?
One of the lowest points of my entire life.
My daughter was asking where he was, and the only thing you can tell a 4, almost 5-year-old is that he's sick.
During that rehab, someone asked me, they said, what's the number one thing in your life? I said, my daughter. He's like, I'm sick of hearing people say that. You need to be number one in your own life or she's not going to be there. Later that day, I got on the phone with my daughter and she said, Daddy, I just don't want you to be sick anymore. I miss you. And from that moment on, I started writing my daughter's name on my hand to get me through the day. My daughter was ultimately the driving force in me wanting to be number one in my own life.
He looked so much better. I was cautiously optimistic.
It takes time for people to understand, are you going to stay successful?
He had a lot that he needed to do before I felt comfortable with them seeing each other. And he did. He continued to, slowly.
I had set goals, and I had let Lindsay know that my 90-day goal, I want to take my daughter to Hershey Park. And in that time frame, I didn't really get my daughter. And it's very tough as a parent. But what I would do is I would take that as motivation and be like, I'm never going to live like this again. After that 90-day mark, I got to take her to Hershey Park, and it was awesome because I could see life through her eyes.
That saying, time heals all wounds, is so true.
Now looking back on it, I couldn't be more grateful that she has a mother like that was protecting her best interest.
Look at Kaden coming. She's coming.
2 months ago, I moved out of the recovery house and I moved into my own place. And I have a bedroom for Kaden, and I've experienced my first 2 overnights. I couldn't remember the last time I put her to bed. So you're talking years of not having these moments that I really fought to have. And this is why I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because this is what life's all about. She's just the best thing that I've ever created in my entire life.
Dan, you recently started Hero in the Fight, a recovery community organization, and you're the CEO. What can you tell us about your new venture, Hero in the Fight?
Hero in the Fight is a grassroots recovery community organization created to break the stigma of addiction and raise awareness on the impact it has on individuals, families, and in our communities. Our goal is to create conversation, and we started with this phrase right here: be a hero in the fight against addiction. I can't begin to tell you the experiences I've had just wearing this shirt. One is I went to get coffee, and the barista looked at me and smiled and said, "I like that shirt." And the next day I went in and I ordered a coffee, and he paused and he had tears in his eyes, and he said, "My brother's still out there." I was put in a position to say, there's hope. And I gave him my number and I let him know I'm there in any way that I can be.
How has your life changed since we last spoke to you?
Man, since the last time we spoke, I've jumped out of an airplane. I went snowboarding for the first time. I did a stand-up comedy performance. I've been putting myself in situations to be uncomfortable and face fears, and growing a lot in that process. I've been focused on my health physically, mentally, spiritually. One of the best things I have is the relationships with the people around me. They're deeper, more meaningful. And the most important one is the relationship with myself. So my daughter's 9 now. And, one of the best things that I have today is that relationship with her. She feels comfortable talking to me, whether it's a situation she's going through, and it'll be really random. Whether we're outside playing or in the car, and she'll say, "Dad, I'm going through this at school. How would you handle that situation?" Because she trusts and wants to know my opinion and how I would handle that. And, that communication comes in time. And that's something that I didn't have growing up. I didn't feel I had with my parents. and it's such a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that relationship today.
How has the pandemic changed the relationship between in-person meetings?
In-person meetings shifted to Zoom meetings, and it's really beautiful now looking back on how fast that transition happened to keep meetings in place for individuals. And, for me, the pandemic caused me to slow down. I was putting all my energy into everything else, my job, other people, my daughter. And the pandemic forced me to slow down and invest in myself. And, the biggest thing right now that I feel that is lacking in the Zoom meetings is that in-person feel, whether it be love given in a handshake or a hug. That element is missing. But at the same time, it's really awesome the way everyone's come together. Now that some of the restrictions have risen, we have what are called hybrid meetings at a lot of places, where it's in person, socially distanced, and also there will be a screen where individuals Zoom in as well as bonfire meetings and meetings in the park. The way everyone has come together is really a beautiful thing.
What advice do you have for people looking for help in recovery?
Anyone that's looking for help, just know that you're not alone and that there are people out there that care. It's really hard to take that first step. There is a samhsa.gov website. There is a 24/7 hotline number on that website. There are people that care. Hero in the Fight is here. We have a group page, Hero in the Fight, on Facebook. It's a real-time resource for experience, strength, and hope. We also have a website, herointhefight.org. On that, there are tabs. So if you're a family member, you walk into a bedroom, you're not sure what that substance is, it breaks it down to what that substance is, where to turn, options for you. There are resources, and you're not alone is the number one thing.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
In Centre County, personal advocacy is important in any healthcare interaction, but it is perhaps most important and most challenging when seeking substance use disorder services. Through the personal stories of two individuals who work with people struggling with substance use disorders, we will hear about the dangers of personal bias and about the importance of eliminating bias in the medical system to ensure that patients have access to all treatment modalities.
We need to do our best to make sure that whatever door they walk through, whatever group they engage with, understand that there are many different treatment options. So that patients can feel confident that they're walking in and getting treatment that's best for them, not treatment that's best for the provider.
I have not had a drink or drug in nearly 9 years. I was raised the oldest of 3 boys. My brother Todd, who was the middle of the 3 boys, at age 28, died of a heroin overdose. About 2.5 years later, in September of 2007, my youngest brother, Josh, died of a drug overdose. With my brother's deaths, I was the last living child of my parents, which made it all the more difficult for me in late 2011 to tell them that I was struggling with my own addiction to opioids and that I needed to seek treatment.
The treatment of substance use disorder can really be quite different for individuals. The reasons that lead to substance use and harmful substance use are quite variable. So individuals seeking treatment may be referred for any number of different types of therapy, depending on what their individual needs are.
When I started the journey that I'm on today, my view of the recovery world was pretty narrow. Along the way, I was privileged to get an opportunity to work for the Commonwealth as a communications director for the State Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs. I had opportunity to meet many different people, travel across the Commonwealth. I reflected on my family's story. My parents would much rather have my two brothers, Todd and Josh, alive today and on a medication that gives them a chance to recover. And so I went from, if you're on Suboxone or methadone, you're not really in recovery, to perhaps one of the strongest proponents of incorporating medication as one of our tools, because we lose far too many people.
My views and my approach to the treatment of addiction and opioid use disorder have absolutely evolved over the course of my career. Early in my career, I carried a lot of the same stigmatized thinking and beliefs that are still really prevalent. And I like to think that that evolution in my own personal experience and that progression of thinking helps me to then go and speak to my colleagues, my peers, who are maybe in different stages of that process.
Priority number one for me is eliminating the personal bias and the stigma to ensure that the patient gets what is best for the patient. I think for the person who enters the system for the first time, they are relying very heavily, if not exclusively, on the system. And that's what we do when we enter any type of healthcare system, is put our faith and our trust in the experts. We need to be willing to embrace the change that the data and that the evidence and that the lived experience supports. Are we willing to change? It's not lost on me that I am, at least in part, where I am today because my brothers are not here. And I try to carry this message, at least in part, to memorialize my brothers in a positive way. When I'm critical of the treatment system for its stigma against medication, it's purely from a patient-first perspective. Everything that we do should be about making sure that we give that individual the best chance at recovery and really life, because it is life and death.
Jason, do most patients seeking substance misuse treatment feel empowered, or do they feel intimidated?
I would first talk about my own experience, and any who enter the system as I did are entering blindly, really, reliant almost exclusively on the first person or facility or system we encounter. I think a lot of the previous experience of those who enter the system will determine whether they feel empowered or not. Unfortunately, many of the folks that I've worked with, we know, have been in treatment many times. And so while they may know what to expect, whether they feel empowered and really part of their treatment plan is another story. Certainly those on the front line and those clinicians who work day in and day out with our patients can probably answer that question better than I can. But I'll tell you from my perspective, I don't necessarily think patients feel empowered. I think oftentimes they feel that they're going to go down a path that is drawn up for them. I think that's changing slowly over time. I think that patients are now being given more information and more education and more options when they enter the system. But I still think there's a lot of progress that we can continue to make as a treatment system.
What is the biggest challenge facing substance misuse treatment today?
It goes back to the idea of feeling empowered and educated. Do patients really know what their options are? And are they being given all of those options when they encounter the system? Or are they being referred to a particular level of care and ending up at that level or within that particular system? Of course, patients are assessed as soon as they walk in the door for which level of care is most appropriate for them. And so patients are
absolutely being directed to the appropriate level of care based on their assessment and the severity of their addiction. But do we oftentimes find that patients who enter one door stay within that particular system or in that environment that they've entered? I think yes. And so in my experience, I have sometimes seen where patients may be better served in a medication program, perhaps an outpatient program that includes medication to treat an opioid use disorder, especially when you consider past treatment episodes. And unfortunately, they end up at the same level of care, doing the same type of thing that they have tried multiple previous times to no avail.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
The Veterans Memorial Hospital in Erie County has a strong behavioral health program team that is nationally recognized as being a leader in the field of substance use treatment and recovery. It has a dedicated substance use disorder team with local and national reach that has benefited thousands of veterans and their families. Jonathan Atkinson is one of the experts leading this program in Pennsylvania.
Our substance use disorder treatment program is here to assist our veterans with achieving sobriety, as well as promoting a recovery-based lifestyle. Veterans often face difficult challenges, including reintegrating into civilian living, managing chronic pain, as well as dealing with trauma. So we really strive to make sure our veterans are well equipped with the tools needed to promote a healthy and sober lifestyle. We additionally have our Veterans Treatment Court, which works with veterans who have experienced legal issues as a result of their respective mental health or mental health considerations or addiction. COVID has obviously impacted the lives of so many of us, so patient safety remains a top priority. We've done a remarkable job of screening each patient, visitor, and employee who steps in the building, but also with utilizing virtual services to continue to provide care for our veterans. And because of that, we haven't really missed a beat. Veterans continue to have access to our behavioral health services. We've even distributed VA-issued iPads and tablets to veterans who don't have access to their own hardware. The local recovery coordinator serves as a champion and advocate for the recovery model. So the local recovery coordinator serves as a subject matter expert on recovery and implementation to recovery services here at the VA. Our local recovery coordinator also engages in outreaches to the community to provide information about behavioral health services within the VA and advocate for recovery and wellness of our veterans. MakeTheConnection.net is designed to create ways for veterans and their family members to connect with shared experiences and support. This resource can help veterans confront the challenges of transitioning to civilian living and facing mental health issues, including substance use. It's important to know that veterans can also utilize the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255, then press the number 1. They may also text 838-255 or chat online at veteranscrisisline.net. Veterans and their family members have access to connect with the Veterans Crisis Line for 24/7 support. The VA offers a wide variety of resources available to promote recovery from addiction. This includes individual therapy, outpatient groups for substance use disorder. We have 5 groups running throughout the week here at the local VA. We have medication-assisted treatments for substance use disorders. We have intensive outpatient programs for substance use disorder. Our IOP program is a more aggressive treatment option, which runs 3 days a week for 8 weeks. We have our residential treatment program, which opened in 2019. We additionally offer services within our Veterans Treatment Court, which works with veterans who have experienced legal issues as a result of their respective mental health or addiction considerations. we've done a remarkable job of using our behavioral health services by using the virtual platform, and we really haven't missed a beat. In fact, we've been able to provide VA-issued iPads to veterans who aren't able to access the technology independently. So veterans can use this service to achieve sobriety and improve their overall quality of living. It's remarkable because I've seen patients present in their worst moments, and in a few months' time, they've reached significant milestones such as identifying housing if they're homeless or repairing damaged relationships as a result of addictions. And none of these outcomes would be possible without a dedication to recovery. Our services are provided for veterans. However, we are available as an aid and a resource to family members to provide education on the nature of addiction and information on the services that we offer to assist their loved ones in their journey to seeking help. We focus on a holistic approach when it comes to patient care to make sure that we're addressing improvement in mind, body, and spirit. So by doing so, we utilize not only our behavioral health services, but we also rely on our whole health, which has had a tremendous impact on the lives of veterans and offering alternative solutions outside of just strictly pain medication. So in whole health, we offer services such as acupuncture, Tai Chi, yoga, chiropractic care, all valuable resources that veterans who have participated in have seen significant impact in their recovery compared to those who don't. So it's really a multifaceted approach to care as opposed to just one sole treatment. Yeah, we understand that it's difficult to take that first step, but we just want you all to know that we're here for you. Veterans can access these programs by reaching out to their respective VA healthcare team. Veterans may also reach out to the behavioral health clinic directly here in Erie. The number is 814-860-2038. For veterans with urgent concerns, we offer same-day access to accommodate those individual needs. And then upon enrollment to our behavioral health clinic, we'll identify chief concerns, we'll review treatment options, and then make a collaborative decision regarding suitable treatment for the veteran.
Joining us now is John Gennaro, the CEO, director of the Erie VA Medical Center since 2016. Erie VA MC was one of the first VAs in the nation to launch a whole health program and continues to lead the way as a high reliability organization. Thank you for joining us. Your VA offers many programs, everything from behavioral health services to legal services, just to name a few. What is this whole health program?
Whole health is a cutting edge approach that VA has rolled up across the country. And it's an approach that supports veterans' health and well-being. Whole health is centered around what matters most to our veterans. And it's focused on personal health goals and not necessarily just problems or problem lists in terms of traditional Western medicine. There's three components of whole health. They follow one, the pathways. So that's veterans engaging with other veterans and peer support to really find out what inspires them and what's their purpose. Secondly, there's the well-being program that includes complementary alternative medicines such as Tai Chi, yoga, mindfulness. And lastly, there's the whole health clinical care. And we have a team of osteopathic manipulative therapists, professionals who are trained in clinical methods, adjustments that can treat physically the veteran at our medical centers. What's most important is that the primary focus is what matters most to the veteran, and that's our focus.
How would you say this whole health program has impacted those in recovery?
It's had a tremendous impact on those in recovery because we follow the recovery model. And really the recovery model is twofold. It's knowing that it's possible to recovery. And secondly, it's effective when it's patient directed. So the whole health program itself is 100% patient-directed. And what we found in terms of outcomes to date, that those veterans who are enrolled and take care of themselves and get engaged in our whole health programs have a threefold decrease in opioid use compared to veterans who are not engaged in whole health programs. And we've had wild success here at the Erie VA. We've treated last year alone over 2,100 veterans, and they accounted for over 8,000 encounters in the different therapies that we have here.
And in addition to the whole health program, what other services do you offer?
Yeah, our team offers a comprehensive array of services, specifically from a behavioral health standpoint. We offer comprehensive outpatient services, residential rehab programs. We offer homeless support, peer support services, and are all, like I said, as part of the recovery model here at the Erie VA.
And the program isn't just for veterans, but for those people affected by substance use disorder. How does this program help them as well?
Yeah, the program overall is focused on the well-being component. And veterans who are part of the program, we've seen tremendous success stories. And that's the best outcome you can hear and see is when a veteran comes in and we have feedback sessions about the success of the programs. And just a short story, an Army veteran who had chronic disease and back pain for over 2 decades, to the point where he thought about taking his life. He came in with his wife and said, I found the whole health program. I engaged with the services. I've met other peers. I now am able to fish, to hunt. Previously, prior to the engagement of the program, he was confined to a walker and pretty much homebound. But now he does those important things, has purpose, and ultimately this veteran got his life back. So it's stories like that that just show the tremendous success of the whole health program.
Well, that's wonderful. How has COVID-19 changed your program from when it was first established?
It's important to note that safe care at the Erie VA is our path forward and is our mission. We've adapted very well to offering virtual modalities, and that includes whole health and focusing even on the wellness of our employees. To that extent, there's a national program called Practice. It offers virtual modalities that offer instructor-led classes virtually. So the Tai Chi, mindfulness, meditations, Reiki, all those therapies can be offered through Practice. It's important to note, though, that we offered and throughout the entire pandemic face-to-face services. We understand that not all the time can virtual be the solution. And so those veterans in need who need that personal touch, we've offered those services throughout the entire pandemic. But the virtual care has been a tremendous boost to get additional veterans and employees, for that matter, engaged in their well-being.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you, Mr. Gennaro, for joining us and for sharing all that your programs have to offer. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thank you.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
I would like to thank our guests for appearing on tonight's show and for being advocates for the treatment of those battling opioid addiction. It's our hope that those in need of help will access the information and learn where to get assistance. Visit battlingopioids.org. On behalf of Pennsylvania PBS, I'm Paula Giangiacomo. Thank you for watching.
It doesn't take long to become addicted to opioids. In fact, 10 Pennsylvanians die from them every day. Geisinger is committed to ending opioid addiction with both prevention and treatment. In the last 3 years, we've reduced the amount of opioids we prescribe by 50%, and we've opened 4 outpatient addiction treatment centers across the state to help patients recover from addiction. Learn more at geisinger.org/recovery.
Additional support provided by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and viewers like you. Thank you.